All right, guys. Hi. Welcome to, I guess, the first one. And this is not the first one. I think it's like is it the second one? I know I did like another entry that was just audio. I can't remember which one that was. So this might be the second of the podcast. I think this is gonna be the first official one though, where I'll actually call it like a podcast. Mostly because like I kind of like doing the like sit down talking with you guys about like things that I've seen on the news or topics that I kind of want to discuss. I talk like a lot about my asexuality and sexual abuse and stuff. So I kind of wanted to keep that going, but I wasn't sure how, because I didn't have the time. Sorry, I'm messing with things on my desk. I didn't have time to sit there and put together my webcam and set everything up to get that going because the webcam takes a while, mostly because it's not a great webcam. It's kind of a crappy webcam, and then you have to sit in the video editor and adjust it to where it looks like somewhat decent, and even then it still looks really bad. So I haven't been doing them because I don't want to go through the extra hassle of sitting there trying to get the thing set up and all that. So I decided I'll just do like a podcast thing. I know they people don't. I feel like don't watch them quite as much as the videos. Just they may be like me. I don't listen to podcasts because I'm terrible ADD. So I just can't without images. I can't listen. Like I kind of trail off. So I don't know if other people have the same problem or not. But in this audio podcast thingy, I'm gonna be talking about Cameron. Let me go to her name real fast. I'm gonna say her name wrong. It's Cameron Esposito, I guess. I'm probably saying that really wrong. A gay lesbian comedian who talks about her homosexuality and stuff, and a lot of times her wife is in skits too. I love Cameron. If I had to pick a wife, I would probably marry Cameron. She's amazing, and I love everything about her. And I watched the skit she did for, I think they call themselves Rain, Rain. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's Rain. And they're just in support of like rape victims. And I watched this skit because it's called Rape Jokes, and as a sexual assault survivor, I was kind of interested in what she had to say about it. So I watched the whole thing. I thought it was very interesting and informative, and made me think about things in the way, like, I feel like people have said what she said in her skit, but not a whole lot of comedians come forward with their sexual assault and actually make it a part of their skit. So it made me think of like familiar ideas in a different perspective. And I'll link it in the description, like the skit if you want to see it. I highly recommend watching it. Especially if you want to be educated on like sexual assault and all that jazz, and how victims feel, or maybe you have a partner who's sexually assaulted. You want to understand a little bit more about how they feel, or you're trying to date and you're trying to understand where a woman is coming from when she goes on a date, why she may be scared or timid or shy. Well, not shy is kind of the wrong word because shyness doesn't automatically mean something's happening to you, but like why she may not be kind of resistant toward you, be kind of fearful. Especially if she is a sexual assault victim. It's like a good thing to watch so that you understand it's not, if you are not someone who has assaulted someone, it's not really personal. It's a lot of times like women who may be very active in the dating scene or not, it doesn't really matter. Who probably dealt with some really scary stuff, and it's probably just a little bit guarded. And so it's a good listen, and it was a good listen if you are a sexual assault survivor too, because I am a survivor of sexual assault. It was very informative from my perspective, because one thing I think about a lot. We're about to get real personal in here, guys. Let's get close. But I like being personal about the sexual assault things. I don't like some of the things I don't quite like to talk about that happen in my personal life. or I've stopped talking about so much of my personal life just because I understand that Twitter is supposed to be, like, especially on Twitter, because Twitter's supposed to be kind of professional. YouTube's, it's okay because people kind of get it. It's like you do the vlogs and stuff, but like on Twitter, not not so much. So I kind of stopped, but I'll be open and personal about the sexual assault because I feel like a lot of people go through it and they feel like they're alone and they feel like they're the only one, and they feel scared to talk about the person who assaulted them. They feel bad about calling them out. They're, all these other things. So I'm going to talk about myself really fast. Is that, I don't know if I want to tell the story, but basically, I was sexually assaulted by my dad, who is a rapist. Sorry. So if my family watches this, I have already told you that he's a rapist several times, but they don't believe me. So he's a rapist. I was raised on a rapist mentality. I know all the tricks. I know all the gadgets of how rapists think. And that's why I get guarded when it comes to dating. Because I know all the little things they do. And I kind of want to talk about that on this podcast. Like, because it took me a while to articulate. Because when you're as because I obviously dealt with a very traumatized, I can't say words, traumatizing childhood, right? And because of that, I have very bad memory, very bad. Not bad. Well, I don't have bad memory. Let me rephrase. I don't have bad memory. I do have ADD, which causes me to forget things. But when I waffle in and out of trigger phases, I will forget the way that I thought in that phase. If that makes sense. So, like, if I get triggered and I'm acting like a weirdo for like a day, I won't remember anything that I did that day until I'm out of being dissociated. Because what dissociating means is when you get triggered, often you dissociate. And when you dissociate, what happens is that your body does like a safety net thing, because you're in a flight or flight state. So it does a safety thing where it basically takes your mind and separates it from your body, like mentally. And so you're it almost feels like you're looking at yourself in the third person because it's separating itself. It's like trying to numb itself or to back off in a mental way because it can't escape physically. I know that doesn't seem to make sense. But you can't escape physically, so it's like, oh, bye, I'm going mentally. And that's what happens. So I will not remember what the hell I did when I was in the triggered phase that's really stupid and I hate it. So I don't remember my childhood. I remember very little bits every once in a while, but I don't remember most of it, which is why I've always wanted to write an autobio. I actually might just make a video game about it because that's a little bit easier because that's a little bit more abstract. So you can get real abstract with it. So I could tell the story without saying concrete memories because I would not be able to tell you in chronicle order what happened to me when I was a kid. I can't. I could say maybe one or two stories, and it's like it's almost like you take, if you had photos, like you take all the photos of all the memories and you just scrambled it all up. And memories got thrown. Some memories get thrown in the corner. Other memories get thrown in another corner, and it gets all jumbled. And so it's just like memories scrambled eggs of your childhood, and even the parts of my adulthood. Because every time I get triggered, I forget the event. So I'll forget very large portions of my college life, just because. PTSD, it's fun, guys. So, what was I going with? I feel like I just went on that, and I don't know why. Why did I say that? I don't know why I said that. Anyway, no, I get what I was trying to say. Okay, so sorry, guys. It's the ADD, and I legitimately have ADD. I'm not making fun of ADD people. I actually do have it. So, the reason why I say that is because I have a hard time articulating the situation with my dad and really dissect what I went through, what kind of stuff I went through. And now that I'm able to get older, my mind is a lot more stable. I'm not triggered nearly as often. I sometimes get, unfortunately, PTSD is a full-time job. You have to manage it 24/7. You can never not manage it, ever. I think I already talked about this in another podcast. I think it was in the last one I did. But it's a full-time job. You cannot stop for a day. You get up, My daily routine. I think I already said my daily routine. If I haven't, I will say it again because you maybe knew. Who knows? I get up. I I have to do this kind of the same routine every day. I have to get up, take a bath, to calm myself down. I go to school. Have to bring my headphones because if someone says something triggering, I have to listen to music. That's how I get out of it. So you got to do that every single time. Every single time someone says something that's kind of triggering, I have to immediately take myself out, and you have to do it every single time. It's very frustrating, trust me, because most people could just say they hear something kind of troubling and they kind of shrug it off. I can't. I have to go listen to music. I have to go listen to music. I have to go listen to music. I have to go watch a video. I have to go watch a video. I have to go play video games. I have to go play video games. You have to constantly do it. You have to constantly go to a happy place, as they quote it. It's a shame that phrases like "go to a happy place" are triggered or trivialized nowadays because people with PTSD have to actually use these terms in medical ways, and so we can no longer voice our concerns without looking like we're being a meme. Because when I say I go to my happy place, I'm not like, let's go to my happy place. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, you actually have to, your mind has to go to imagine a different place in mind because you're getting flashbacks, and the flashbacks are horrible. I would not wish PTSD on anybody, so when people make fun of people who stay triggered, that's very upsetting to me because it is a horrible, horrible, horrible mental illness to have. It's like the worst. Not the worst, but I'm sure there's a lot of others that are pretty bad, but it's bad. And I can't say I was triggered today because someone will go, "Oh, you've been triggered? You watched something offensive on YouTube?" And I'm like, "No, I'm actually like in like actual danger, but thank you." So now that I'm able to articulate a little bit more about like what my dad did, I feel like now I can kind of explain it to other people without getting like confused by it myself. So I feel like I could talk about the camera and God dang, I'm not gonna say her name right. I gotta look at it. Esposito. There you go. I'm able to watch it and kind of articulate like how I feel about it and how that it reflects my own life and my own thoughts. And the first thing that really stuck in my mind, there's several of them that I will talk about. I don't know which one to talk about first. I feel like I need to, you know what? I'll talk about like the rapist tactics first. So she was talking a lot of times about how rapists don't look like criminals. They're not like wearing a mask. They're not like attacking you in an alley. I mean, that does happen. It actually does happen. That happens in New York. But not to me. It's not like common in New York, but that kind of thing can happen in New York City, or other cities, or in suburbians. It happens in suburbans too. It happens anywhere, but oftentimes it's on a criminal. Often it's someone you trust. Often someone who's manipulating you, something like that. And often sometimes it's people who have a lot of sex and date a lot. Sometimes it's not. I've never dated anyone in my life. I went on one date. 2 dates actually. One was terrible and the other one was nice, and I appreciated that date because it really changed the way I looked at dates, which maybe I'll talk about on a different podcast, because I went on my first date with a woman a few months ago, and we didn't click, but it really changed the way that I viewed the romance world, and I appreciate it. I gave her a hug afterwards. We didn't talk again. I don't know if she'll ever listen to this, but she did. I just want to say to her that it actually really changed the way that I viewed it. I viewed dating. It gave me a lot of agency. She allowed me to have agency. She allowed me to say, hey, I'm not okay with certain things. And so she didn't do it. And I gave her a hug. And I will remember this date because it was like the one good moment I had with a date with someone. Because I went on a date with a man and that went horribly. And I was like, I don't know if I'll ever date again. But her date went pretty well. So I feel like I was like, you know what? Maybe I would be willing to try it at some point because it was pretty nice. We just sat there and we watched Black Panther again, and it was nice. Just sat and we watched it. There's nothing else. We didn't do anything else. We just watched it. I gave her a hug. I said I thanked her and for hanging out with me, and I left. But I guess the reason why I'm pointing that out is because Cameron talks about a lot of like toxic, manipulative things that men would do to her to kind of like manipulate her into being in a relationship with them, and because for lack of education, she didn't understand that these things were actually toxic, which is common. I did not have sexual education when I was little, which is horrendously damaging. I can't tell you in words how damaging it was, because I was sexually assaulted and then told over and over that if you had sex, that you were dirty. And I never had actual sex. I never had like, well, not actually. that was a misinformed thing I just said. I did not have the like. I was not raped in a conventional sense. I was not like held down um and all that stuff. It wasn't like anything having to deal with nether region. Well, it did have to do with nether regions, but it was not. I guess sex from their description of it, like of whatever. It was not conventional as they described it, which it does not have to be. I want to say that right now. It does not have to be the whole like crazy, rape stories you hear on the cop shows. Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's not that extreme. Sometimes it's not someone like. And this is gonna be triggering. I had to do a trigger warning at the beginning of this, but it's not it doesn't have to be violent. But even despite that, I still felt like damaged property, and I refused to date anyone because I felt like I was damaged property, and that I did not deserve a relationship. I did not want to put anyone through having to deal with me. And I still feel that way, which is kind of messed up. But when you raise that way, it's kind of hard to think otherwise. Um, so I was raised in that mentality. So I simply just didn't think I deserved anyone, and it took me a very long time to even kind of accept that maybe I deserve people that I genuinely like, because I'm also asexual. That's nothing to do with being sexually assaulted. I know people think differently, but I have just always been asexual, and that made it worse. That made it even worse because not only was I sexually assaulted, but I was asexual, so I didn't even want to have sex with people. So I just didn't date anybody because I thought, well, they wouldn't like me because I don't want to have sex with them. Because my dad would tell me literally every time before I go to bed, this is my insane dad, that no one would love me unless I had sex with them, which I have talked about in the other podcast. I talked about that in my story, about how he would literally tell me every single day that no one would love me until I had sex with them. That's what he would say to me. So I believed him, and I was like, I guess I'm never gonna date anybody. I'm gonna die alone because I don't feel comfortable having sex with someone on the first date. I'm not. It's not what I'm into. If you are into it, that's kudos to you, man. I envy you because I wish I could just have sex with people. But that wasn't me. It just wasn't my personality. And but that's a tactic. Like that's one of the dating tactics. Is dad saying things like, "This person will not love you until you have sex with them. You will not get married if someone has sex with you." Like that's a common tactic of rapists. Another big one. I'm talking about this because I was talking about it on Twitter, and I feel like it was good to discuss here. Is that rapists are smart and they do their research. Now, I'm not saying that to scare people, but they're smart and they do their research. And they will pretend to be very nice to you for a very long time, so that they can assault you. It is a thing. It's a thing that happens often. It does happen. It happens more than you think. When I say often, I mean more than you think. Not often enough to where you know what I mean. It's not like a super common, but it's like just common enough for women to be scared. And because there's a lot of stories, and a lot of men do it without even realizing. Some men don't even realize they're doing it. Some men do, and some men just think that they're being a catch. They think they're being a playboy, when really they're enforcing like this toxic mindset that's very rapey. And so what they'll do is like something called grooming, or yeah, it's grooming, or they're being manipulative, and they'll say things like, "I'm a feminist, and I believe in women's rights, and I'm different. Stuff like that. They'll say that to you and say, "Don't worry, I'm different. Don't worry, I'm gonna give you the space you need I'm gonna let you choose what we do." And they'll say stuff like that. And then you kind of feel safe. You're like, okay, I guess they care. And then they'll assault you. And then when you complain, they'll say, "How dare you? I'm nice." That's very common. And my dad did that stuff all the time. Another tactic is getting a woman, which just happened to Cameron, is getting a woman drunk, because men legitimately think this is completely acceptable. A lot of men think it's acceptable to get a woman drunk solely for the reason of having sex with them, and then having sex with them, and then when they are sober again, say, "Well, I was drunk too." It takes two to tango. This is not true. You went in knowing that you're going to have sex with this person. You knew you were going to manipulate them. You knew you were going to rape them. Just because you get yourself drunk does not make the act go away. It does not mean that you were not going in with a rapist mentality, because you were. Sorry, calling you out. If you're trying to... This is also a big rape thing, and I will call it a rape thing because it is. If you do something like, and this happened a lot in high school, guys still do it. If you don't, let's say for example, like, I'm going to try to articulate this well because I can see how people are going to take this the wrong way. Because this is normal. This is normal dating. This is normal flirting. If you see that someone is into something and you want to show them, like, I care about you. I care about your interest. Let's say they love Star Wars. You've never seen Star Wars. You go watch Star Wars. And you're like, that was a good movie. I'll go talk to them about Star Wars because I want to be their friend. I want to flirt with them or something. I don't know. That is itself is not weird. It's not weird at all, because that's kind of normal. You do that with friends. You do that with anybody. Like, you know, you try to find common interests. That's normal. What is not normal is realizing. Let's say I'm going to be real stereotypical, and this has actually happened. So. You know, say what you will, but a woman really likes poetry. You hate poetry. You know you hate poetry. There's nothing going back on you hating poetry. And you bring a poetry book to school or to whatever and pretend to like poetry and to read poetry and lie to her about all the poetry that you know and memorize lines from poetry, like on your hand, to say poetry to her to make it seem like you like poetry. She likes you, she's into you because you like poetry. And then you say, and then after you have sex, you're like, oh, by the way, I hate poetry. That is very manipulative and very, very rapey. To change who you are as a person to get this person to sleep with you. That's rapey. That is very rape mentality. A lot of chick flicks have this mentality of like, I'm gonna become a librarian. It's not okay, because you're giving her this false pretext of who you are and what she's consenting to, because she's having consent to a specific idea, a specific person, and if you are not that person, she's not really consenting to you. It's kind of like with that scene in, what is it called, Revenge of the Nerds, when someone dresses up like Darth Vader and has sex with someone, pretends to be someone else in a Darth Vader costume to have sex with her. She's consenting to her boyfriend in Darth Vader costume. She's not consenting to you, who's disguising yourself as the boyfriend. If you're wearing a costume and she thinks you're a different person, you're still raping her. That's not okay. And there's a lot of, unfortunately, there's just a lot of romantic comedies who do this. And again, small bits of it is fine. Small bits of it. Like I suggest, like, if she really likes poetry, and you think to yourself, she likes poetry, maybe I'll kind of read a couple and see if I get into it. And then you're like, you know what, I kind of like it, and you want to talk to her about it. that is 100% okay. Because you're not changing who you are, you're being introduced to a new idea that you like. And hell, if you read poetry and you go, I don't really like it, I don't like it very much, that's fine too. That's fine too. You can still talk to her and stuff. Don't literally change who you are. It's so manipulative. And I really hated it when men did that in high school, because it makes women fear that, like, they're not sure they're talking to the right man. They're not sure they're talking to someone who honestly cares about their well-being. They're like, are you just manipulating me? Are you lying to me? Are you giving me chocolate to just sleep with me? And that's really messed up to do. It's really messed up to give women also gifts in the thought that you will get sex. That's really messed up. To be like, give chocolates that night. You want to have sex? She's like, no, I don't really feel comfortable. Well, I gave you chocolates. Like, that's really not okay. Again, that's acting like someone else that you're not in a pursuit of getting something. No one owes you anything. They don't owe you your time. They don't owe you a response. They don't owe you anything. They don't owe you sex. They don't owe you contact. They don't owe anything at all. So when you go into that mentality of, oh, I'm going to pretend to do this thing to get sex, that's really messed up. And I'll make that very clear. Don't do that. Just try your best to be yourself. With the just be yourself. Just be yourself. You can adjust yourself. You can, like, kind of like for a job interview. Like, when you go for a job interview, you don't completely change who you are, because you don't want to say, I know science when you apply to a sciencey job, but you don't know anything about science, and then when you're there, they're like, you don't know anything about science, and they fire you. That's not great, right? What you do for a job interview instead is just dress really, like, you put on a nice suit, you do your hair, you make your resume sound really nice. That stuff is fine because you have the assets. You're just highlighting your assets, but you can't completely lie on your resume about everything you've done and everything on your cover letter, because sooner or later people are going to find out. Sooner or later people are going to stop trusting you. And it might work. You might land a job. That's great. Fine. Cool. Good for you. But people, when they find out, will start to not trust you, and it starts to make you look really bad. And it's the same mentality for dating. So when you go on a date, think, how can I highlight myself, except for how can I completely change myself to manipulate this person into thinking I'm someone else so that I can sleep with her tonight. It's not okay. I hope that made that clear, because I could see how that's confusing, because I think a lot of people don't really get how dating is, don't really get how dating works or sex works, because there's no education, and all they watch is romantic comedy. So they don't see what the big deal is with lying about literally lying about everything who you are to be with a woman. They don't see what's wrong with that, especially if you don't like yourself. You're like, well, I have to change myself. You don't really have to. It's like, I don't know. It just isn't appropriate. And then the final thing I want to talk about, because I really thought about this for like a long time after I heard it, and it seems silly now that I'm saying it. Like, as a sexual assault survival, it's not silly, but it seems silly because it should be like common courtesy amongst everybody, right? But I did not think about it like this, because when you're raised as a woman in a lot of these environments, even men, some men think like this, because some men have unfortunately dealt with the same kind of thing, is that you don't think of any agency when you have sex with someone. Like she said, which I thought was profound. When you watch it, you'll understand it. She says, have sex like a gay person, which means when you have sex, talk a lot. And I was really thought about that for a long time, because I thought if I had consensual sex with someone, I do not know how I would begin to talk about it. I also feel like I don't have the right to talk about it. I feel like I'm being unromantic or needy, and I feel guilty at the idea of telling someone my needs and my boundaries when it comes to sex. And I really thought about that, because I would feel uncomfortable. Like, I thought, if I tell him or her, with women, I'm not as scared with them, but well, that makes a difference. You know what? That makes a difference, because with the guy that I dated, the man that I dated, he tried to kiss me at the end of the date. I was not okay with kissing him. I did not even show interest that I wanted to kiss this man. I was traumatized by this, and I never wanted to date again. With the woman, I told her, I don't want to freak you out, but please don't try to kiss me at the end of the date because it's happened to me before and it freaked me out. And she immediately went, oh my god, I would never do that. Ever. First of all, that's really messed up. And I would not do that, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to do what you want to do. And I said, okay. And I asked her for a hug. And she said yes, we gave a hug. And that was pleasant. To make the difference of the different kind of mentality of it. Is that I felt guilty that I did not kiss that guy on the first date. Even though I was not okay with it. Because he thought it was just owed to him to have a kiss. He didn't ask and say, is it okay? He just wanted to just kiss me. And that's freaky and scary. So when it comes to sex, for me, it's even worse. As an asexual, I often don't really want to have sex with people. I just don't. Sorry. But when I do, even though I'm sex positive, I'm actually really not sex positive. That might be shocking to people. Because I don't have sex and I am a victim, but I'm actually sex positive. I don't. Does it gross me out? Fine with it. Would be okay with having sex with people. It's not a problem with me. I just haven't had it. And I feel like I have not found, or not, I mean, I might be the wrong way of saying it. I have not been in a place in my life where I feel comfortable having sex with people because I don't feel comfortable being in that space of being like, I want to have sex with you. However, I have all these boundaries. I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't feel comfortable being like, I would like to participate. However, I don't know how to participate. I don't know how to have that conversation yet. And that's something I really thought about. Because there's sometimes I do run into a person where I'm like, I would not mind sleeping with this person. I find a pretty lady, and I'm like, she's pretty and she's pretty cool. And she has the same motivations as I do, and I love women who are muscular. So if you were a woman that boxes or lifts weights, I am really into you. I just like that aesthetic. I just think I like women are kind of like that. Funny women or something. Like maybe you're really funny or something. And I'm like, I would not mind. But I do not know. I had no idea how to have that conversation, even with women. I don't know how to begin. I don't know how to even describe to them what's triggering because I don't know, and I feel weird saying. I feel weird saying things that make me feel triggered because they, let's say for example, I know there probably is other people who are like this, and if you are like this, well, you don't have to comment because that would. Yeah, I don't want you to feel weird, but I think there's people out there who actually get triggered by the act of taking off clothes. So I run into a situation. This is common for me. Ooh, I feel very vulnerable talking about this because I feel like I haven't told anybody this, but I'm gonna say it because I feel like there's other people out there who probably feel the same way. You're not weird because I feel this way too, and I feel weird about it. Is that okay? So in movies, I like it when, not necessarily women, because I feel like women get objectified too much. I like it when, sometimes in anime, there's like really muscular women, and they'll take their shirt off, and they're like so awesome, and I'm like, hell yeah. And sometimes there's men who, or sometimes women who take their shirt off, but it's not objectified, they're just taking it off. I'm like, that's nice, that's cool. Or like, and sometimes in comics or something, you're like, yeah, I'm into it. And sometimes there's guys in movies who take their shirts off, and you're like, hell yeah. But at the same time, I get triggered by people taking off their clothes, and that sounds horrifying. I know it does. And I think to myself, how in the world do I have sex when I'm triggered by the actual act of taking off clothes? Because then how do you have sex if you can't take off your clothes? That doesn't make sense. I mean, you could keep your clothes on. Theoretically, you could keep your clothes on. But like, for example, if you have sex with a man, or even with women, if you want to have like fun time with, if you want to have fun time with the stuff downstairs with a man or a woman, and you want to participate, like you want to do these things. How do you do that without them taking off their clothes? And then just, I could not figure out the logistics of this. I really thought about this very hard yesterday after I watched the talk, because I hadn't really thought about it. I was like, well, what does bother me? I don't even know what I find bothering. I don't know what would trigger me. I have never thought about it. And I thought, well, the act of taking off clothes is so triggering. And that sounds really bizarre. Like, I would, even seeing someone shirtless, I find triggering, and that's really upsetting. And I'm like, so if someone I like took off their shirt to go swimming, I would be upset. And that's really sad to say. Ugh. So sad. It's very sad, but true. And I was like, how do you deal with it? I don't know. How do you puzzle? I'm trying to puzzle piece how you would be able to do the act. But then I realized, I also realized as I'm saying this, and as of course I'm in therapy. If people are wondering, if you're listening to this, going like, this person needs therapy, don't worry, I have therapy, so don't worry about that. But I thought to myself, well, but Heather, you also don't really have to jump to that. It's not like, how do I describe it? It's not like, because I don't think that's how dating works from what I've experienced and what I've been told. It doesn't seem like with some people, yeah. With some people, you go on a date, you know you're hooking up, so you have sex at night. Like people know that. But if you're not comfortable with it, that's not who you are, then I think that's not really what happens. Like, I think you don't really start taking each other's clothes off. Like, so I'm trying to think to myself, but Heather, you wouldn't do that on the first date. And because I'm over here freaking out, like, I'm gonna have to figure out how to get over people taking off their clothes. And I'm like, but they probably wouldn't do that on the first date, because you would just say, like, like, I'm not ready for it. And they were like, okay, I'm not gonna do it, if it's honestly bothering you, I will not take off my clothes. And for some people it would be really inappropriate. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, because I often think of the person I'm gonna date is this, like, really awful human being who would just not understand my boundaries. But then I think, well, out of my friends, like, if I dated one of my friends that I trust and that I care about and that I love, if I just suddenly started taking off my clothes around them, they would be like, what is wrong with you? They're like, what? You know what I mean? Like, if we started dating, they'd be like, what are you doing? Unless I like told them, like, unless there was like an understanding of why I'm taking off my clothes, they would be really weirded out. Like, unless it was like obviously sexy time, they'd be like, why are you taking off your clothes? But as someone who's been raised by rapists, I'm like, I just assume that when I date a person, specifically a man, because sorry, I'm scared of men, that they will just start stripping. I don't know where I'm getting this idea, but I just get this idea. Like they're gonna invite me to their house to cook for me or something. I don't know, or to watch a movie or something. And I just think they're going to take off their clothes randomly, and I will deal with this. And I realize that logic is kind of messed up. And if they do just start taking off their clothes, I might just leave. Like, I don't, and I feel like, oh well, now I have to participate. Like, this is messed up. I realize as I'm saying it how messed up this is, but this is how a lot of victims think. Because your agency gets taken away from you. You don't feel like you're part of your body anymore. You don't feel like you have rights anymore. You don't have to feel like you have the right to say no. So when someone starts taking off their clothes and are like, okay, I'm trying to be sexy for you, as a sexual victim, even people who are not victims think this way too, because a lot of women are taught to not have agency, is that when they start doing it, you're like, okay, I guess this is time. I guess I'm going to just deal with it because adults have sex. And yeah, and actually unfortunately there is quite a bit of men, yeah, well, women do it too, who feel like the what's his name, Aziz Ansari, like when he invited that girl back to his place and just started to try to put her in his pants, like, ugh, like people get really freaked out by, like, at that idea, so they get afraid to even go to your house, like, and sometimes, like, if a woman asks you, if you go, hey, you want to go back to my place, and you just want to play, you honestly just want to play video games and see where it goes, do not be shocked if a woman is uncomfortable and is like, I don't feel comfortable going to your house. And because you'll be sit there and go, but I'm not gonna do anything to this girl. Like I honestly just wanted to play video games. But she does not think that because there's a lot of men out there, a lot of them, and women too, who. Because sometimes I hear women out there, some of you women say stuff like this too, where they go, but you're at my house. What did you expect? And that's not okay. Because I would love to go to a guy or girl's house after a date and just hang out. Because it's your house. I want to see your house. I want to see who you are. I want to see your stuff. I want to see your furniture. You know, if I really care about you, man, I want to see your stuff. I want to see your pets. I want to see your cat or dog. And play with them. It's the real reason why I'm there. Without feeling the pressure of having to have sex. Like, I want to play games without having sex with you. It seems really bizarre that I have to go out in public and play video games with you because rape is a thing. That's so common that women can't go to people's houses. It's a little off. It's a little bit off. I just want to pet your cats. Or your dog. Actually, I can't. I'm like allergic to everything, so maybe I shouldn't pet animals. But just saying, if you have a bunny or a dog or a cute animal, I just want to pet them without feeling like I gotta have sex with you. I'm sorry, man. So, because I think about that, and I'm like, I want to invite this person over to my house so they can play my bunny Gigi. I don't want to have sex with them. I just want them to see Gigi. Gigi is adorable. Gigi is my rabbit. I'm allergic to her hay, but that's okay. I just don't get close to her pet. But I love Gigi, and I want people to meet her. But I don't want to have sex with them. I just want them to meet my bunny. She's so cute, and she's like a little black bunny, and she's adorable. And I also want people to meet my bunny because she's a very good judgment of character. So she doesn't like you. You did not meet Gigi's expectations, man. Gigi is a hard bunny to please. You have to be the right kind of person for her to like you. The only person Gigi has ever not liked is my dad. And she's the only person who will... The only bunny... she will stomp at him and growl at him if she tries to pet her. And if she's kind of standoffish about someone, she will... She thinks they're not, like... How do I describe it? It's like we're her animals. Like we're her pet, Gigi's pet. Like that's how Gigi thinks, and she has a high standard of the kind of people that can be in her apartment. It is her territory. She does not like you. You cannot be in her territory. It's just how it goes. So if she is frightful of you, if you're like kind of intimidating person, she'll be afraid of you, or if she thinks that you're gonna endanger me, she'll try to protect me. That's how Gigi is. So I like the idea of someone like meeting Gigi because it's like, will Gigi like you? I don't know. If she doesn't, maybe I should be afraid, you know. I need to end this because it's like 42 minutes, but I like talking to you guys. So I guess I'll leave it here. I just want to invite people to visit my weird bunny Gigi without them taking off their clothes. or like sometimes I'll hear people on like YouTube channels. This really freaks me out when people say, I like to get her to my room because it's closer to the bed. And I'm like, what? I can't just go into your room to look at your figurines without you trying to shove me into your bed? That's really weird. Don't say that stuff on YouTube. What the hell? And people say that on YouTube and no one says anything. And I'm like, that's really rapey. Does anybody see how rapey this is? Like, to try to get someone to your room to get them to your bed? That's weird. It's weird. It's rapey. Don't do that. It's creepy. Just let people go to your room and look at your stuff without you trying to shove them on the bed or something. I mean, and a lot of times they don't even literally shove you to bed. They're just trying to get your body physically near the bed so that they can get you on there. And that's really messed up. I'm just saying it's really messed up and scary. It makes me not want to go to your house or to anywhere near you. Anyway, I'm going to stop this here because this has been a long podcast, but I hope it's helpful. I hope it's educational. I hope you've learned something. We got real with each other. We got to know each other very well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this time. And I'm sorry if any of this was hurtful, triggering, because I'm sure hearing it is. So I'll see you guys next time on another one of these podcasting images. If I do it again, I don't know. But I'll see ya. Hello guys, if you like this video, please consider checking out my game Vacant. It's free right now off of itch.io in early access. I would really love to hear you guys' feedback and comments and all that jazz. The link will be in the description if you want to see more.